So breaking news, a massive story has come into balance. It has now happened. Jim Harbaugh is going to be the next head coach of the Los Angeles Chargers. That means the AFC West is now loaded. The Los Angeles Chargers obviously now have Jim Harbaugh. The Denver Broncos, Sean Payton, and Andy Reid with the Kansas City Chiefs. And I guess if the Raiders want to be a part of this conversation, that unserious franchise, have Antonio Pierce, of course, never been an NFL head coach before, a defensive-minded guy. I could just go on and on about why that is just a horrible decision, and maybe I'll regret saying that a year from now. Maybe he's a defensive mastermind and is going to just dismantle some of the greatest, brightest offensive minds that we have seen over the past decade, 2 decades with those 3 other coaches. But for now, I think that is just a ridiculous hire, but that's not what this is about. Jim Harbaugh is the Chargers head coach. There's a few things here that I want to talk about with Jim Harbaugh being the next head coach of Los Angeles Chargers. We're going to run through it all. It might be a little bit longer of a segment, but let's talk about it. So Jim Harbaugh. This reminds me so much of last year in relation to quarterbacks. Justin Fields last year, even I gave him a little bit of time. I didn't believe in Justin Fields at this point last year, but you have to give young quarterbacks time. You can't just yank them after 10, 11, 12, 20 starts. Sometimes these guys just got to sit and marinate. And last year, a little bit later on, maybe 11 months ago, we had the trade that the Carolina Panthers would trade up with the Chicago Bears, giving them DJ Moore and a multitude of other picks for the number 1 overall pick. And I said then, it's go time for Justin Fields. There is no more excuses. You have more than enough weapons. Once you start getting into my quarterback just doesn't have enough weapons. Okay, so how many weapons does your quarterback need to succeed? Because then you get into the Brock Purdy conversation. Justin Fields fell square on his face. He's not a great NFL quarterback. We've talked about that nauseatingly on end. And he completely failed that test. I said it's go time. You have the guys. You now have the weapons. It is go times. There's no more excuses for Justin Fields. Now we're at that same point with Justin Herbert. I think Justin Herbert is a really good NFL quarterback, but Justin Herbert has severely underachieved in his first few years in the NFL. First 4 years, I believe, in the NFL. 1 playoff appearance in which he squandered a 27-7 lead. You can blame Brandon Staley all you want. You can just blame Brandon Staley for that. Justin Herbert, whether you like it or not, was at fault for that. To a quarterback in which I'm not sure I believe in either in Trevor Lawrence anymore. So it's go time now. I am not going to judge Justin Herbert so harshly. I'm going to give him time. But we all blamed the head coach. We all blamed Brandon Staley. We all said that guy's a buffoon, and largely, I agreed with you. And I still agree with you. But I'm just putting this out there now. It's go time for Justin Herbert. There are many people that put Justin Herbert in that tier 1 echelon of quarterbacks, and I'm just not there yet with Justin Herbert. I have to see more. Now, I get it. That might be unfair, and I'm not trying to judge Justin Herbert unfairly. I'm just trying to be as just as I was with Justin Fields. So I guess I said I didn't mean to judge Herbert unfairly. I'm trying to be fair to everyone here. Justin Fields last year, I said, all right, it's go time. DJ Moore, Cole Kmet, you have fine running backs, and the offensive line is not as bad as Bear fans want you to believe. So it's go time for Justin Fields. I just need to see something. I never saw it. Justin Fields can't play. Justin Herbert, obviously I feel much better about him and his chances than I do Justin Fields. But Justin Herbert has a multitude of weapons. He's had Mike Williams, Keenan Allen, Austin Eckler in his prime years, Corey Linsley on the offensive line, Rashawn Slater on the offensive line. It's not a completely abysmal offense. Although, guys, I'm not dumb. I'm well aware players have been injured. It's not all on Justin Herbert. But Justin Herbert has fallen flat on his face a few times. And I'm willing to admit probably a large portion of that was Brandon Staley. So I'm not going to condemn Justin Herbert. So don't comment under this video. You don't know what you're talking about. Justin Herbert's awesome. I think Justin Herbert is awesome. I think, I'm like 65-35, but it's go time now. You have Jim Harbaugh, who I have massive amount of respect for. I think is an awesome head coach, just an awesome head coach. Been to a Super Bowl, NFC Conference Championship games, just won the Natty with Michigan. It is go time for Justin Herbert. There's still Keenan Allen. Mike Williams will be back. You can draft a running back. The offensive line is patchwork, but it'll get settled. And if there's anyone over the next couple of years that has a drafting advantage, it is Jim Harbaugh over every single head coach in the NFL. Pete Carroll was like this when he first came to the NFL. Remember, he drafted studs because he recruited all these guys. He knew who was good. He got guys like Cam Chancellor, Earl Thomas, Richard Sherman, day 2, day 3 guys, and building that Legion of Boom. Pete Carroll knew all these guys because he recruited them all out of college. He just had a better scouting report than everyone else. Same thing with Jim Harbaugh. Jim Harbaugh, even if they didn't attend Michigan, he most likely recruited them or played against them. So he's going to be able to get a lot of these positions right quickly. I know the Chargers are in basically cap hell. What's the best way to get out of cap hell? Draft a lot of young guys, a lot of young athletes, a lot of young skill position players, pay them peanuts for 3-4 years in the NFL while you're recovering from your cap casualties that the other GM, Tom Telesco, basically made you inherit. That's how you get out of it. So Jim Harbaugh can fix all these things. Bright offensive mind. And that brings me to my next point. The AFC West as a whole. So we've already talked about it is go time for Justin Herbert. There are no more excuses for Justin Herbert. You have the head coach. You have the weapons. You need to start winning soon. I'm not saying a Super Bowl. I get that. Winning championships in this league is hard. Josh Allen, I think, is a top 3 quarterback in the NFL. He might never win one because he keeps running into Patrick Mahomes. So I'm not going to hold the standard of Super Bowls. But you need to make the divisional playoffs next year. You need to win a playoff game. You need to make the playoffs. The standards have been lifted for Justin Herbert. It is go time for Justin Herbert. Similarly, like it was go time for Justin Fields last year. Everyone blamed the head coach. We understand that now. You now have what is the most coveted head coach coming into this offseason to help get you out of the rut that you were in. It is go time for Justin Herbert. There are no more excuses for Justin Herbert. This team needs to make the playoffs next year. So, although I'm not out on Justin Herbert at all, I think he's great. No more excuses. There are 0 excuses now for Justin Herbert. So now really quickly, let's talk about the AFC West as a whole. I wonder how this is going to affect the Chiefs and Andy Reid, and if it helps add to the speculation that he might retire. Now, this is just completely off the cuff for me. Completely, I get it. It's bonkers. It's kind of dumb, but just bear with me here. Andy Reid, obviously, it is speculating. I believe it was Mike Florio is the one that reported it. He might retire at the end of the year. Could this Jim Harbaugh thing make it easier for him to retire? Before, when he was in the AFC West, it wasn't Sean Payton. It wasn't Jim Harbaugh. It was basically him and just a bunch of guys, whether it was Anthony Lynn with the Chargers, whether it was Brandon Staley with the Chargers, whether it was the OC for the Jets, totally name is escaping me, for the Denver Broncos before, whether it was whatever head coach the Denver Broncos had. They never had a guy up to the standard of Andy Reid. And the Raiders are the Raiders, whatever. But Andy Reid, instead of going up against Anthony Lynn, Brandon Staley, or whatever the Broncos and Raiders are rolling out at head coach, you're going up against Jim Harbaugh and Sean Payton minimum 4 times a year. And the Raiders, although they are a hilariously funny organization and an unserious organization, always play the Chiefs particularly well. I wonder if Andy Reid is like, I've had health concerns in the past. You know, he's got things going on, and he's older. And now maybe this is the straw that broke the camel's back. Maybe he's like, I don't really want to deal with that. It was easy to win my division. was going up against whatever bonehead every other coach was rolling out. I'm a bright offensive mind. But now the AFC West is starting, at least doing their the groundwork to catch up to Andy Reid. Bright offensive young minds, or I guess I should say bright offensive minds. Neither of them are particularly young, but bright offensive minds. Jim Harbaugh, I think, is a genius. Sean Payton, although very intense, I think is a genius. I wonder if Andy Reid, if they win the Super Bowl, decides, I've got 3 rings now. I've got more wins than people actually think I do in my career. People are already going to put me up on the Mount Rushmore of head coaches. I've been to Super Bowls with Donovan McNabb. I've been to conference championship games with the Eagles. I've been to a multitude of playoff games with Alex Smith. There's no wondering if I can coach. My legacy is cemented. With his older age, with some of the health concerns that he's had in the past, and now looking at the division, definitely on the up and up with some of these bright offensive coaches, I do wonder if Andy Reid is just like, no, I think I'm done. I don't really want to deal with that. It doesn't mean doesn't have a competitive nature. It just means maybe at some point Andy Reid's like, you know what? I think I'm done. I just wonder if this is the straw that broke the camel's back. I think it would be insane to leave Patrick Mahomes in his prime. But who am I to tell a guy what to do for the rest of his life? Andy Reid is not young. Maybe he wants to spend it with family. I get it. People like that. People are like that. But it's not crazy. Although it's not crazy to say maybe this is a straw that broke the camel's back. I don't think it will happen. But it wouldn't floor me if Andy Reid looks at the rest of the division now that is starting to catch up offensively and go, you know what? I'm done. I don't really want to deal with it. I don't want to have to go through a treacherous division every year. I'm good. I have 3 Super Bowls. My legacy is cemented. I'm one of the greatest head coaches of all time. I'm good. And I could totally see that, and I think everyone would respect that. But other than that, Chargers, getting Jim Harbaugh, massive, huge, good for LA. They were falling apart in the LA market. We'll see what happens with the rest of the division. But other than that, I think it's a slam dunk hire for the Los Angeles Chargers.